can knock him out, I can submit him, whatever. The only thing I know for sure is that I'm gonna knock him out in the first round or submit him in the first round, because he walks forward. I'm not gonna need to close the distance with him. Since the first moment, we are gonna find each other in the center of the octagon. So, yeah, it's gonna be a first round finish.
But I like what you were saying, Topuria versus Oliveira. Oliveira.
Your first introduction at 55. He's kind of the, you know,
Oliveira
king
so
of 55
tall
and dangerous.
So dangerous everywhere. Dangerous striking, huge reach advantage.
Yeah. But if you're Topuria, you're not going to go up to 55 without some sort of guarantee. Because remember, he's giving up the belt, so he's not getting pay-per-view points.
But it's his idea.
Well, because the weight cut's too tough.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Ilia Topuria shoved Charles Oliveira during their face-off, and wow, things just got real. The tension was already thick, but that shove, it set everything on fire. This isn't just another fight. This is for the vacant UFC lightweight title, and it's all happening during International Fight Week. Both fighters are walking into this with history, pride, and something to prove. Ilia's not just talking big, he's been openly saying he's better than Charles at everything, striking, grappling, the whole package. He doesn't just believe he'll win, he's promising a brutal defeat. And when he talks like a man who means every single word.
And I think, you know what I think? Yeah. I think he can beat him.
Yeah. Yo, Henry.
Woo! Tell that ain't fire Kush.
Yeah, 100%. This is exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. Yes, I do believe Ilia Topuria can win that fight. You see it. Charles Oliveira gets hurt in a lot of fights, and he gets dropped in a lot of fights. And so now you throw in a guy like Ilia that doesn't just hurt you, he will get you out of there, that mixes up the attack, goes to the body, goes to the head.
In a recent interview with Kevin Iole, Ilia hit back at Charles's claim that he hits harder. Ilia didn't even flinch. With calm confidence, he said, "That's wishful thinking. If he really believes that, I challenge him to a separate boxing match, grappling match, wrestling match. I'll beat him anywhere." He wasn't yelling, he wasn't bragging, he was just being real. That's what makes it chilling. Topuria truly believes no part of Charles's game is better than his.
Could I get your read on how Topuria versus Oliveira plays out?
Man, that's one where your heart's telling you, you know, Charles, and your brain's telling you Ilia. It's just that one's a coin flip. Can't count Charles out. Ilia's on an absolute tear. You know, Charles does get hit, and Ilia cracks. That fight I am very excited for.
And the rivalry isn't just face-to-face anymore, it's online too. Charles, usually someone who avoids trash talk, has been firing back on social media. He's reminded Ilian and all the fans that his resume speaks for itself. He's not some random fighter. Charles Oliveira is a former champion, a record breaker, and a veteran of this sport. He's not here to be anybody's stepping stone. This is the best fight they could give me right now, he said. Ilia is new, he's undefeated. That makes this fight exciting. He's not a rematch, he's a fresh challenge, and I like that.
Charles Oliveira has been dropped by just about everybody that he's fought. What happens when you go up against a dude that's knocking people out, not TKOing people, knocking people out cold like Ilia Topuria? Ilia Topuria goes high-low, he can go to the body, he can go up top. We saw him one time at 155 pounds where he did get hurt, but the matador in him, he came back and he ended up knocking him out. Charles Oliveira is the bigger fighter, taking down Michael Chandler, taking down Justin Gaethje with those beautiful double legs. Charles Oliveira is the guy that has to make those adjustments. If not, it's going to be...
At first, Charles had respect for Ilia. He even admitted that Topuria seemed tough and could go far in the division. But as the fight got closer and the trash talk louder, his tone shifted. Has he shown me the same respect? Not really, Charles said. But he's not shaken. He's reminding the world, everyone knows who I am. On June 28th, they'll see who the real champion is. Meanwhile, Ilia's already looking past Oliveira. He said he wants to beat Charles, move up to 170 and fight Islam Makhachev. That's how confident he is. He's planning the next war before this one even begins. Even Dana White has taken notice.
Do you feel like he's given you that same respect in the lead up to this fight?
No, definitely not. He didn't treat me with the same respect. Man, I don't know. They've been saying a lot, but the fact of the matter is we're going to find out on June 28th. Everyone knows who the real champion is.
You talk a lot about legacy. You mentioned it multiple times. What is the best way to win this fight for your legacy? Is it to knock out Ilia? Is it to submit him? Is it to dominate him for 5 rounds? What is going to be the best result for Charles Oliveira's legacy?
I just want to win. You know, that it's meant to be. It's already written.
During a post-fight press conference in Baku, Dana White was asked about Ilia's plan to move up a weight class. He didn't say no, but he definitely wasn't jumping at the idea. Let's see how this thing plays out, Dana said.
June 28th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You all know Ilia Topuria, undefeated, 16-0, vacated his featherweight title. He knocked out Volk, Holloway, and now he's moving up to lightweight, and he will face former lightweight champion and number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Co-main event. Flyweight champion Pantoja will defend.
Dana followed up reminding everyone that Ilia just arrived at 155. Now we're already talking about him moving to 170, he said, almost amused. Let's see what happens here first. Ilia might be dreaming big, but UFC wants to see if he can even handle lightweight before imagining another jump.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a big fan of both of these guys, but if I'm being honest, Ilia is going to smoke him, probably in the first round. Even with the conservative approach that Charles Oliveira took in the Michael Chandler fight earlier this year, maybe late last year, he still managed to get hurt how he does in a lot of his fights. And Ilia, he does not just hurt people, he puts them away, either by knockout, by submission. The guy is so well-rounded, he could match up with Charles Oliveira.
Still, those dreams aren't baseless. Ilia's performances against elite featherweights like Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski were incredible. He's known for his cool head, sharp boxing, and perfect timing. If he brings that same skill to the lightweight division, he could skyrocket. A finish against Charles, like he did to Volk, would make everyone start believing he's ready for greatness across multiple weight classes.
Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira has just been announced, and I'm having mixed feelings, man. I'm gonna be honest, because I'm someone who really wanted to see Ilia fight Islam Makhachev. That would have been one of the best fights the UFC could make right now, in my opinion. I think the best fight. And now we're not going to have it. Yes, Islam is going to be moving up to 170 to try to become a double champion now. Not a simultaneous one, because he just vacated the belt. This fight between Ilia and Charles is for the vacant lightweight title. And see, here's another...
But here's the catch, it's complicated. Islam Makhachev, the current lightweight champ, is eyeing a move to welterweight too. If that happens, it could mess up any dream matchup between Islam and Ilia. Both fighters want it, the fans want it, and Dana White says the door is open, but only if they both keep winning.
Now, UFC 317 International Fight Week, June 28th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You all know Ilia Topuria, undefeated, 16-0. Vacate, and now he's moving up to lightweight, and he will face former lightweight champion and number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title.
And other fighters, they watching closely. Dustin Poirier, who fought Charles before, had some interesting thoughts. Ilia admitted Charles has deadly submissions, but said surviving to that point is going to be tough. Charles gets hit a lot, and Ilia, he puts people away. Dustin isn't saying Charles is weak, just that this could be the kind of fight where one clean shot ends it. Ilia's boxing is the main reason everyone's nervous. His footwork, timing, and ability to close distance are next level. He dismantled Holloway and Volkanovski with surgical precision. On the other side, Charles thrives in chaos. He pressures hard, forces wild exchanges, and dives into scrambles to lock in submissions. It's power versus pressure, control versus chaos.
Charles Oliveira, even this is what I was telling you before, like when you got 10 losses in your record, that's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 10.
Yeah.
Like when you walk in with a guy that has 10 losses, the level of confidence is completely different. It's completely different than when you walk in with a guy that it's...
Charles knows his style can be risky. He's been hurt before, even dropped in big fights, but he always manages to bounce back and win. That toughness, that grit, it's what makes him so dangerous. But Ilia's style doesn't give second chances. When he lands, it's over. That's why people are wondering, can Charles survive the early storm? Charles thinks so. He's standing firm, saying he's still the man to beat.
Charles Oliveira against Ilia Topuria I mean, it's a good fight. It's an unbelievable scrap.
It's an unbelievable, but you think, unless Topuria does not look the same at 155, which is a possibility, because they
hit harder at 155. You know, there could be what if Charles is still there in the third round, the fourth round? Ilia can't get him out of there. Then it becomes.
Michael Bisping recently spoke out. He didn't sugarcoat it. I'm leaning toward Ilia, Bisping said on his YouTube channel, and he gave a big reason why.
I think the lightweight division is the most exciting division right now. It's just death row in the lightweight division at the moment. Like the top 5, dude, that guard up there right now, it's just killers, man.
But especially with Ilia Topuria entering the mix, right? The whole big story over the past week was he obviously vacated the title at featherweight, but apparently he said the UFC told him, we promise you a title opportunity if you vacate. That's what he told Spanish media. Or I think he said as a backup he would fight Charles Oliveira. And now they've gone back and...
The power in Ilia's hands is serious. He's going to be stronger at 155. He looks bulked up, better cardio, better durability, just a better athlete now. Bisping even said Ilia's wrestling could stop Charles from taking it to the ground.
And everyone started yelling, the kids screaming and all that. Training had just ended and so on. I grabbed the phone, saw thousands of messages, went straight to Diego. That's it. Let's go. We're ready. 46 days. 46 days for this belt to return where it never should have left. We'll focus on what matters, stay sharp, and make it happen. I'm not fixated on their moves, but on what we can bring and take. My team will map out Tupula so we can plan our game.
And Bisping's not alone. Lots of people think Ilia is adjusting perfectly to his new division. He hasn't lost his speed, but now he's added muscle. That means even more power. Still, no one should count Charles out. People remember his jiu-jitsu, but the man can punch. He's shocked opponents with clean shots before, and once they're wobbled, he jumps on submissions like a shark smelling blood.
Just one more. I know you had good praise for Ilia there. Dana was in here. He said you are still the BMF champion, but Ilia's strutting around backstage with the UFC belt on one shoulder and his BMF one on the other. Just your thought on that.
I mean, it is what it is. It was. It is. It wasn't. Could you imagine Islam walking around with 2 belts after knocking out Volk? Let that sink in. You know, the belt was in a different.
Ilia is known for knockouts, no doubt about that. His finishes against Holloway and Volkanovski weren't just wins, they were statements. Brutal, precise, unforgettable. And now, UFC 317 is his chance to prove he can bring that same violence to a new weight class against a veteran like Charles. But wait, there's more happening behind the scenes. Arman Tsarukyan says he's been named backup fighter for UFC 317. He just beat Charles in a razor-close match and is currently ranked 1. So if anything happens to Ilia or Charles, a man could step in. He's already won 4 in a row and looks sharp every time.
So guys, International Fight Week is going to be Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. Usually I'd wait for a podcast, but we're not doing that one this week. I'm going on vacation. So I just wanted to mention, 1, Islam Makhachev being stripped of the title, but not John Jones being stripped of his title is the most BS thing I've ever heard in my life. I hate that. What is the UFC doing right now? Islam Makhachev has been the guy for the last 5 years, and John Jones has been a guy who doesn't want to fight.
For Charles Oliveira, this fight with Ilia is just another chapter in a long, emotional journey. After his loss to Tsarukyan, people doubted whether he'd get another title shot. And with the lightweight belt now vacant because Islam Makhachev is thinking of moving up, everything's a bit messy. But Charles? He's not backing down. He's ready to fight anyone. I think I deserve to be next in line, he said. But I work for Endeavor. I'll take whoever they give me. Dustin? Justin? Ilia? I'm just waiting on the call. You can feel the frustration, the uncertainty, but also his commitment.
That's what a champion essentially is supposed to look like. Make the calls, go out there, deliver on the calls, then all of a sudden vacates the title. I mean, how do you feel? Because you said earlier, like, you were looking at him and going, there's holes here.
I think it's good for the sport, to be honest with you. I mean, him and Islam, I mean, people really want to see that. Everybody has their own style, and it seems like his style is just doing what he did. Honestly, I believe Islam is just a little too much for him, but I'm also a fan, you know, so I would have loved to see that.
Even if Charles loses to Ilia, he's not planning to disappear. He's already thinking about what's next. He talked about rematches with Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, fights that would definitely bring fireworks. But one name really stands out, Max Holloway. Their first fight, it ended early because Charles got injured, and that memory still lingers. Now he wants a chance to make it right. We're both aggressive. I've got belief in my hands and my jiu-jitsu. I want to show the world what that fight should have looked like, And you know what? A rematch between those two would be huge.
You're having a hard time getting Ilia in there with Islam. And Islam's entire situation, or his entire argument is, I've done this not just once, I've done this twice, it's everything to gain for you, and I have nothing. When the reality is, this should be the undisputed champion versus the BMF champion. That's what this should be. Ilia Topuria should be right now the BMF champion. And it's not the first time the mistake has been made to walk a BMF champion out there and not make him put his belt up.
Charles even mentioned the BMF title, the symbolic belt Max Holloway now holds, but some people shrug it off, but not Charles. He said, BMF means the toughest guy, and that's me. He's not just talking about championships, he's talking about legacy, about heart, about being the guy who doesn't quit, who keeps coming even when the odds are stacked against him. To him, that belt isn't just a showpiece, it's proof that he's the toughest man walking into that cage.
Dressers?
Yeah.
UFC?
Absolutely. Well, it's so interesting, right? Because, sometimes you can tell a lot about someone, the way that they dress a little bit. And you have Charles Oliveira, who, is very flashy. He'll certainly be the more colorful guy in the suit. He always comes with like a green or a red or something wild. Hair dyed, all that stuff. And then Ilia Topuria kind of like, your clean, kind of normal type suits, but everything,
Michael Chandler also had something to say. He knows Charles better than most. They fought twice. Chandler lost both times, once by knockout and once by decision. But he's not writing Charles off. It's tough, he told MMA Junkie. You don't bet against Charles Oliveira, he's just good everywhere. Still, he admitted Ilia's power is scary. He hits hard and he hits clean. Striking definitely leans Ilia's way, but Charles is dangerous all around. Chandler's been in there with Charles, and his words carry weight.
Vacated the belt, there will still be a lot of questions. Would the new champion beat the old champion who vacated the belt? Because the champion never lost. With that being said, when it comes to predictions for this fight, you guys know how I feel. I think Ilia Topuria is unfortunately going to knock out Charles Oliveira, and I think it may be in a pretty brutal fashion. Charles Oliveira's two biggest weaknesses are his chin and his striking defense, and when you're going against a guy like Ilia Topuria, El Matador, that is not the kind of weakness you want to have. I think this is about as bad of a matchup as you could get for Charles Oliveira, because Ilia Topuria is also a very...
Chandler also opened up about how this whole division mess has affected him personally. With Makhachev eyeing welterweight and Topuria jumping into lightweight, everything's moving fast. And Chandler, he feels like he's just missed the train. I had chances, he said. I should have beaten Charles. I should have beaten Paddy. I messed up. And you could hear the frustration in his voice. If I had won just one of those, maybe I'd be the one fighting Ilia for the belt. This sport moves fast. One misstep and you're watching from the sidelines.
Ilia Topuria. He said, you know what? I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without? No, I don't agree. Because Islam already give chance. And people talk bad about like, oh, he fight too.
And now, with all the voices weighing in, one thing is clear. Ilia Topuria brings knockout power and dangerous precision. He's young, hungry, and full of momentum. But Charles Oliveira, he brings experience, resilience, and an unbreakable will to win. He's been in wars. He's been knocked down and come back over and over. That's why this fight isn't just exciting, it's unpredictable. Because anything, literally anything, could happen. So, what do you think? Will Ilia steamroll through another big name and claim his place at the top? Or will Charles remind the world why you never, ever count out the veteran? Let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more fight breakdowns, interviews, and UFC news.